Peace everyone, welcome back to Stoic Ronin Studio. Last time I promised you a proper look at the massive improvements to the editor and my workflow for seamless isometric tiles. Beyond that, there is so much to show right now. It's been a few weeks since I had a chance to put together a devlog, and I have been on an absolute tear. I'm going to start off with the editor, because 2 weeks alone have been put into redesigning it to accommodate the game. Right now it probably looks about the same as the last time I showed it, but does so many more things. Okay, so in the editor, it mainly looks the same, but I have a few name changes here to the layers, and of course they do different things. I'm going to turn off the grid really quick just so we can see. So the first thing is all the tiles are organized. Now right now I only have area 1 tiles, but I have the folder structure behind the scenes, so when I add area 2, 3, and etc., all of those tiles will show up, automatically populate this list. Here are the current tiles that I have, so I'll just paint a couple here. And these tiles are of course seamless and have all the stuff that I want. I have the undo, so I can undo this. I have redo, so I can redo it. And I also have the ability to select them and paint, so I can copy the tile. So right now I have this tile, but if I want this one, I just hover over it and press Q. And so that makes switching tiles that I've already used really easily. I like that feature a lot. So that was one of the features that I added. Makes working with the tiles a lot easier. I have the objects folder, and you can see I added a ton of objects here. I'm going to try to cover this stuff a little bit quicker than I am right now, but I can right click on here. I have setting the origin. This really helps with the Y sorting, so when the character walks behind it, it feels like a 3D object. I have shadow settings, which I haven't showed you the shadows in the game, but I have a shadow shader. And I have collision. So one of the cool things with the collision setup is I can expand this to give myself a little bit more room. And then I just paint on the tiles for the collision, which I'm not sure why it's not working right now. Let me see here. Okay, seems I found a bug. I'm guessing it has to do with full screen. I've had some issues with that. So yeah, so I'll have to debug that today. But anyways, I can select these. I can just paint them into the layer, just like this. I got trees. You can see they get rendered and sorted correctly. So you see how it's behind the rock. And let's get one of these big ones here. Boom, everything's behind it. Yeah, so I have objects. I got a whole bunch of objects that I made. I even have animated ones. So right now, this is just a placeholder animated object, but I can place this here, and then in the game, when I play the game, this will be animated. It uses the sprite sheet just like the characters. I have the foliage page as well, and I can draw the grass and the weeds and little bushes, and I can do that everywhere I want. And the cool thing about the foliage is that I have a different setup here. So foliage can have collision, but I don't mainly use collision with the foliage. But this again sets the origin and then also the sway. So the cool thing with the sway is I can set where I want this. So say I just want the top portion to be affected by the shader, then it only does it above this line. It uses a gradient mask, and so down here makes more sense for like this grass thing. And then I can also adjust the strength for that specific plant. So I can do that with all of these, and they can all sway slightly different. The next thing is the backdrop. Now, right now the backdrop is just this random blurry image, but if I place it in here, you can see it's behind everything. There we go. So what the backdrop does is say like there's a bridge here or something, and this is supposed to represent something that's really far in the distance. So it would make sense for the bridge to have like a river under it or water or something that's like really far down. It will parallax. So the backdrop, it just supports any size image that gets placed into the world Anyways, then I have the water layer and other. Yeah, so the water layer, the way this works is I can paint the water here, and in the game I have a water shader, so it only affects the water layer. So this water layer is separate from the backdrop and the ground, and it gets a shader applied to it that detects the shoreline to create ripples, and it has an effect on it as well. So I actually just have to use solid colors for drawing the water, and then the game takes care of the rest. I have a decal layer that I don't actually have anything that I'm using it for, but essentially it allows me to decorate the ground in a unique way. Like if I want a special feature, I can use the decal to make it any size and any design. It will just sit there right on the ground, just so it's over the ground, under the foliage kind of thing. The next thing that I did is the door. So the way the doors work now is I go to spawn door, and I can actually key this door. If I click on it, this door is now door number 1. It gives it the door 1 ID, and that allows me to manipulate this door at runtime. So in the game side, I can assign logic to it, like you have to kill this enemy, or you have to talk to this NPC, or you have to have this item in order to unlock this door, and then I can dissolve it and the player can pass. So this is really good for closed areas of the game that you unlock doing tasks. And that's the way doors work now. I didn't have that set up initially, and it was something that I had to solve in order to have multiple doors in an area, and then a unique ID that I can trigger their logic game side. So that's how doors work now. There's nothing new with the flags. I still only have door and the block flag. So this is for just constant blocking. It just creates a barrier and the player can never pass it. The spawning. So I have the player spawn, which I believe I've had before, but this just allows me to set where the player will spawn at any location. So the entry, the way the entries work is if you come into this location, so say this is area 1, I want the player to be here when they enter area 1. And what this allows me to do is say that this area is area 1, like this purple part where I put the water, and I want to go to area 2. So what I do is I paint this, and if you walk into this, you will then transition to area 2. And let's say that area 2 is just this little piece right here. So you are in area 1, you walk into this will teleport you to area 2, and you will spawn here for area 2. And then if I go back to area 1 and you're here and you walk into this shape right here, this will transition you and teleport you back to area 1. So that is how transitions between areas work. It is seamless. There is no load time. Everything is super, super fast, which was part of the past couple weeks as well, that I did a major overhaul and optimization for the transitioning and the loading. So my goal is to make sure that this game can run on any computer, just like Diablo 2 did. And I have it running really smooth with 0 load times. So just like Diablo. Alrighty, so the next spawn that I have is NPCs, and right now I only have Pebble. I can spawn Pebble wherever I want. And then I have items, which I have showed before in the past. Nothing has changed here because it's still a test. Waypoint. So waypoint is something cool that I set up. So any of the NPCs that I add will automatically be added to waypoint. And what I can do is when Pebble is spawned, he will just sit there at his idle. But if I want to add life to him, I want to give him like points of interest, then all I have to do is select him in the waypoints, and I can just give him as many waypoints as I want. And what will happen is he will walk here and he will circle around, And then when he gets to his final waypoint, he will return to where he spawned, and then he will continue. The next really cool thing that I'm happy with is the visual effects tab. So this is a brand new tab, and I can do visual effects. So I have below the water, above the water, and overhead. So the idea for this is that below ground, what this is going to be is I have this backdrop and say, like, hypothetically, this was a bridge, and I wanted to create some mist that moves under here. So all I have to do is take my texture, and right now I only have one texture, and I can draw this like that. And when the game plays, what it will do is use this fog texture, and I use a shader to seamlessly tile this fog texture to create fog right here. And it just sort of glides past and looks like fog. And because I put this below ground, it will be under the player and under the bridge, also underwater, but the water is opaque, so you wouldn't see it if I put water on top of it. Now the above water, the reason I have the above water one is that if I put this here, it will show up on top of this water, but not on top of the ground. The reason I did this one is for special effects on just water. So I wanted to add like this extra level of flexibility. This would be like fog over top of the water, that if it hits land, you don't see it for whatever effect. And then overhead is, if I apply this here, it will be fog that is over top of everything, including the player. And that is pretty much the entire editor. So that's all the new features. And I'll just quickly show you area 1. And this is what it looks like right now. So this is a whole area that I have, and you can see I have a skitter and a nullback. Those are some enemies that I will show you in the next devlog. But here you spawn, different color of water. In the editor, the water doesn't really look like much, but in the game, it actually looks really cool. So let's have a quick look at that. Okay, so up next is tile creation. Before I get into it, I gotta say, this part of the project quietly became one of the hardest problems I've solved so far. Making a single tile look nice is easy. Making dozens of tiles that seamlessly snap together on the grid with no visible seams while still being fast to make is a completely different beast. I spent a lot of days on this one, and it's the kind of work that doesn't look like much until it suddenly clicks. So let me walk you through how the tiles are made. Step 1 is designing the two seamless patterns using Photoshop's pattern view. Then I make a 3x3 grid of the fill tile with the base tile on top. I then use a mask to paint in the transitions, which must meet at the center of each tile. The next phase is to make the corner and adjacent tiles. This starts with a 2x3 set of the base tiles, and the fill is used for the corners. Once again, it must cut at the half width of the tile to align later. The next phase happens in Blender. The first thing you have to set up is the isometric plane that each tile will get rendered on. For the shader, you want to use emission mixed with a transparent BSDF. And in the render settings, you want to make sure that under color management, you have it set to standard. This setup prevents the render from affecting the colors while also supporting transparency. That way your tile design has the exact colors that you used in Photoshop. Anyways, once you have it set up, you just import each of the 16 tiles and render them out. I will be making a Blender plugin to automate this soon, but for now, I've just done it manually. I then take all of my tiles, upload it to Spritesheet Generator, and download the atlas. Now here's where the editor comes in, and this is the part I'm really happy with. Adding a new atlas is as easy as dropping it in the content folder. That's it. Now I can freely paint my set of tiles. Every tile also gets a stable ID under the hood, so the levels that I build keep pointing at the right art as the project grows. Then there are the quality of life tools that make actually building levels feel good instead of tedious. To tie it all together, the whole world runs through a post-processing that gives it a dark fantasy color grade, a subtle tilt shift, plus I have a water shader with real shoreline and reflections. So between the seamless tiles, the backdrops, foliage, and the lighting, I can finally sit down and build an actual place in Quoralis. This past few weeks have been a huge milestone for the project. I said in the last devlog that environment art is the part I felt least confident about. And honestly, building this whole pipeline was me just trying to give myself the best possible tools to make up for that. Anyways, that's going to be it for now. In the next devlog, I want to bring this world to life. So I'll show you the full gameplay experience with enemies, combat, and the first companion pebble. The pieces are really starting to come together, and I'm excited to show you. One last thing I wanted to mention. Over the last few weeks, I've interviewed 15 people that want to join the studio. So in the next few weeks, we may have a new team member joining. For everyone else, if this project interests you, I am still looking for a 3D artist, rigger, and animator, and you're always welcome to reach out on the website. Thank you again for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Take care. Peace.